One of the core pillars of CEO Yourself is building and maintaining the routine that works for you. As I said, the routine that works for you will be completely different to the routine that works for me, but I believe it's about changing small habits at a time. It's not about trying to transform your life overnight. It's not realistic. I've tried it a million times. You will quickly revert back to your old habits. It's about making small changes. So I totally transformed my life in 2020. I changed it in every way. And the way I changed it was by strictly implementing a new routine every single day. And this is something that I find interesting to explore, is I believe that you can be really strict with a routine for a certain time and almost build like a program for yourself, which impacts extraordinary positive change in your life. And then you can find ways to implement it in ways that are realistic moving forward. So let's talk about how you can build the routine that's right for you. We all kind of know what we should be doing, but it's about tapping into what works for you. So is going to the gym realistic for you? It's not realistic for me. I have a gym membership and I don't use it. I have the best of intentions. I might occasionally do a Pilates class, but I am not going to be the kind of girl who's on a treadmill in the gym. It's not me. It's never going to happen. So let's not set ourselves up for failure. Let's talk realistically about what is feasible for you. I think there's a number of categories that we must implement in our lives in order to feel good. And they're tried and tested. As I said, you know them, I know them, but it's about implementing them. So for me, there is a series of steps that work. And I have practiced this on myself. I have shared it with others and it's worked for them. And this, as I said, totally transformed my life. It changed my life emotionally, physically, financially, professionally, romantically. It changed everything for the better. Those steps are rising slightly earlier than you normally would. It's not hitting snooze, it's getting up straight away. It's really interesting. I used to just constantly snooze. And if you can change that process in your mind to just, I am committing to myself that that's the time I'm going to wake up. So if it's not realistic for you to wake up before 8, set your alarm at 8. And when it goes off, get up. Don't set yourself up for failure by setting the alarm earlier than you should. So I would recommend waking slightly earlier than you normally would to allow time for yourself, to prioritize you. Meditate when you wake up. Whatever that meditation may be. Meditation for you may not be sitting in the lotus position by candlelight with incense, doing a meditation to a mantra. To you, it might be showering for 5 minutes and focusing on your breath and just clearing your mind. That's okay. For me, I find ways to meditate as a busy mum working. I try, even if it's in the car, just to really focus on driving the car and being totally in the act of driving the car. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be this concept of perfect meditation. Movement, and I intentionally call it movement rather than exercise because I think it's about moving your body in any which way you can. As I said, you're not going to see me in the gym, but you might see me taking the stairs more often than the lift. Those little changes can totally transform your life. Journaling. I am beyond passionate about journaling. I have notebooks everywhere in my house. I usually only find time to journal at the end of the day. That's realistic for me when I'm having a bath. My hopeful non-negotiable at the end of the day is to have a bath, and I use that time to journal more often than not. And people always ask me, how do I journal? How do I write? What do I write? Is there a strict protocol? And to be honest, it's somewhere where I allow myself to be quite messy. There's no process. There's no formula. I'm not neat with my handwriting. Some days it might be gratitude because I might really feel to write about what I'm grateful for. Some days it might simply be a to-do list so that I know I don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I've got to do that thing. Often I just put pen to paper and I see what comes, and it is a form of therapy for me. Just try it. Buy a notebook. You don't even need to buy a notebook. Get a piece of paper and a pen and find a quiet space for you and just see what comes up. It is deeply therapeutic and it helps me to visualize the life of my dreams and to bring it to fruition. It helps me to be grateful and centered and present. It helps me to reduce stress by just putting the to-do list on the page. I think it's worth noting kind of the health, nutrition, wellness element. I am no expert, but I believe that we all know what are the healthy choices to make. I live my life in balance. I love delicious, yummy snacks and treats and food of all sorts, but it's about you doing what you know is right for your body. Because again, what's right for your body is totally different to what's right for my body. So just tapping in and making healthier choices when you feel to. And as I said, just giving yourself the love and respect to honour yourself in those healthy choices. And then reading, just finding time to read a chapter or read a few pages here and there. You can become an expert on a topic by just finding little moments in the day, whether you're commuting, waiting at the doctor's surgery, before you go to bed at night. I guess that leads me into another thing that my husband encourages me to do when I sometimes sneak the phone back into the bedroom. Charge your phone outside of your room if you can. Now that I have a child and I have a bit of health anxiety around my baby, I charge it outside of the room rather than downstairs so that if I need it in the night, it's there. That brings me a sense of comfort, but I have found charging it away from the bed and away from the room really forces me not to pick it up first thing in the morning, and inevitably you just find yourself scrolling or in the wrong area of your phone. Just allowing yourself those windows in the day to switch off as you start the day and as you end the day. Affirmations. Affirmations are totally life-changing. I, again, admit I don't practice them every day. Sometimes I practice them 3 times a day religiously, and sometimes I don't practice them at all. I feel like you'll find cycles in your life and your rhythm and your routine that work for you. But I have found that when I practice my affirmations, it really does transform the way I feel about myself, the way I feel about the world, the way I'm able to call things in. When I post about affirmations or talk about them, often people say, where do I start? What's an affirmation? Basically, it's I am. So whatever you want to call in, or perhaps if there's a negative thought pattern, switch it into I am. So rather than that negative pattern of, I am unworthy, switch it to I am worthy. I've found with time that I make them more and more personal and more framed to things that I want to be or evolve or do better in, and it really shifts the way I am, the way I think, the way I talk, the way I walk. It could be as simple that on a Post-it note you put it next to your toothbrush, so every morning when you open the bathroom cupboard you're forced to look at it and repeat it in your mind, and that's it. There are brilliant ways that you can implement your affirmations into your life, but I do find recording them in your own voice and then listening to it back gets it deep into your psyche. So I might listen to my affirmations for 2 to 3 minutes a day, usually when I'm driving or dropping the kids somewhere. As I said, these are all just friendly suggestions. Find the routine that works for you. Some of those recommendations you might love to do, some of them you might not ever want to do. Find what works for you. Find a way to implement in your life that works for you. I do encourage you to find windows where you practice it all in a really strict and religious way, because you will find the changes obviously happen. As all things in life, the more you give, the more you get. But then let's be realistic. I no longer can wake at 5 and do all of those things before 7 because my daughter might wake up or my stepson might come into the room like he did this morning and jump into bed. Let's be realistic about what's achievable, and let's not be too hard on ourselves. Let's find a way to implement positive practices into our life and to build a routine that works really beautifully for us to help us become the best version of ourselves.
It would mean the world to me if you would share today's episode with someone you feel would enjoy it. And don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and leave a comment.